Hello, guys. Welcome to The Howl. This podcast is a platform that showcases a diverse range of individuals, each with their own compelling story to tell. The ultimate goal of the podcast is to bring people together by sharing diverse stories and perspectives and by fostering a sense of empathy and connection among its listeners. And here we have today is Valerie Vibar. She is an actor, a pianist, a singer, and a stand up comedian. She's also a writer and a painter. And joining me today is my co host, Nicholas Barber.
Hi, Val. Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's your first episode on the house, so welcome. Thank you for taking the time. I just want to go through some things that are going to be a little bit different for this episode. So this episode is going to be a bit of a healthy conversations about things that's going on in the Philippines and maybe stuff we've learned here and back home. So today's episode, also for the viewers at home, will be focused on certain topics in terms of the Filipino film industry. So we're going to be discussing, it's going to be a very blanket around this topic. And the question is, does the Filipino film industry need to reform its system to foster a more inclusive and diverse industry?
Nice. We got a
So
lot to talk about.
yeah, I just want to let that simmer for a bit right there because I know we all have things to say about that, and for the viewers back home, I hope you take something from this. And if there's any way, you want to reach out to us, definitely reach out on our social medias and stuff. We are engaging in this type of conversation as well.
Our first statement is the current pipeline we have for networking in the industry is set up to benefit the upper tiers of society. So we're going to be talking about nepotism in the film industry, basically.
I actually have a very interesting take on nepotism, and to the point where I know that's the one thing that people love to hate on right now, but I actually am not hating on it. Because whether you look anywhere, you look at any other country, you look through the past hundreds and thousands of years that we've been on earth, there's always been nepotism. If your parents are rich, you're going to end up with all the privilege and you're going to end up with an easier life. That's just how life is. I'm not saying that it should be promoted. I'm just saying people put such an emphasis on nepotism in the entertainment field because that's the one thing that everyone has always been like aware about ever since they were a kid. Children are aware of movies. They're not aware of who's the doctor. They're not aware of who's the politician. They care about what they see on TV. And they're like, oh, this is the kid of this. This is the husband of this. Blah, 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 blah. But it's always been there. We see political dynasties. We see people like the C family in the Philippines or like the Rockefellers here in the US. Those are all nepotism. So, do I think that it exists? Yes, and I think it exists in every single industry out there. Do I think that it should be promoted? If the people are interested in finding out what Rockefeller's kid is or Warren Buffett's kid is doing in the stock market next, I think it's just a natural thing of people to look up to people who are above them, and we look at nepotism babies or nepo babies or richer people as above us as a society. Because it's part of a societal thing to look at people who are superior to us in any way, whether it's like physical attributes or intellectuality or, all those things. It's just such a human thing. And I'm not saying that it's the final thing because people are so disheartened about it. They're like, we can't compete with Gigi Hadid. We can't compete with, Justin Bieber's wife. You know? Hey, Hailey Bieber.
Haley.
Yeah, that's But people think that because nepotism exists, they think that we can't get to their level. And that's what annoys me. That's why there's such a hatred towards it. Because we separate ourselves. The people above us and the people beneath us. There's people always separate each other into categories. If we stop separating it, then you know what? Then maybe you can be friends with Kendall Jenner and she'll help you out. Or maybe you can build your own industry. You can build your own film production company. You can be the next big politician or the next big singer. There's a way to get to the top without hating on the Nepo babies. Because there's always going to be the children of the rich. 100 years later, they will still exist. 200 years later, the people who are born into the poorer countries will look up and admire the richer countries.
Mhm.
So I don't have any hatred towards it. I don't think it's an end goal.
Can I have my rebuttal right here, real quick?
Yeah.
Which I
Go
do.
ahead.
I do agree with a lot of what you said, Val. Like it can be a source of inspiration as well. You know, like oh, this is the path that this person took, and this is the path that his ancestors took to get to this path that where he is now. Because in the Philippines, like I think nepotism is very it exists obviously, but I think the systems that keep the rich rich and the poor getting poorer is the one that should be criticized here, not the people in general. But then some people are also very I don't know, I want to say oblivious to it, and I think that's damaging the opportunities of other people. Because it's hard growing up in the Philippines. And like some people call it crab mentality, but I see it for what it is. Like it's opportunity is so hard to come by, and there's like this clawing anywhere you are, right? Like business field, entertainment field. And I think that we shouldn't let it exist in the way it does now.
A lot of
The-
things in society shouldn't exist right now. Completely
Mhm.
honest. And you can't blame society because who made society? People made society. Who makes people? Society makes people. It's a codependency that society and people have with each other. And so who can change society? People. Who can change people? Society.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
So no one's keeping us down. The ones that are keeping us down are people, are individuals, the ones who say we can't get there. And who are the ones saying it? I don't see a lot of Nepo babies saying we can't. I see a lot of evil Nepo babies saying yes. But those are just horrible people that exist anywhere you look at. You
Yeah.
know, if you go to the Philippines, what's the rule of the Philippines? If you're dark, you're nothing.
Mhm.
But
Mm.
look, I went to Obi Montessori, which is a very privileged high school, and a lot of the people that were rich. Granted, most of my classmates were lighter skinned, but there were some really dark skinned people there whose families came from nothing and managed to get there. Why? Because they did not let society stop them. If you look at the story of Henry C, he came there, he had nothing, and now he's one of the richest people in China. So
Yeah.
who's stopping these people? They did not
Well,
let society tell them.
yeah. Well, in terms of like for example, Howling Gale, I don't think Howling Gale would exist in the same degree that we do now if we were in the Philippines, right? Because it's all about opportunity as well. And I think because of the nepotism that it breeds, like in society, when you have to go to certain schools to then meet the people you will do business with, right? Or the people you will sell to, these people who are like well connected. Then it's kind of like a pay to win scheme.
It is a
And then yeah,
scheme.
and then it becomes harder to then create art. So these people who have all the connections and all the money now are running around and this dictating what gets created and what not.
Here's one thing that people don't realize. You know, your energy, your personality says a lot. Like I said, people in the past have done it and have proven otherwise. The thing is, they got corrupt. Once you're at the top, they get corrupt. That's where things
Mm,
start to change. But the one thing
Mhm.
that's different now, especially for the entertainment industry, is social media. Like,
Mhm.
we don't need a lot of these. The gatekeepers will always exist. That's what I think that there's always going to be gatekeepers out there. But with social media, you know, be a singer on TikTok, be a dancer on Instagram, be a
yeah.
freaking model there on social media. You're probably
Everybody has access.
everything is accessible now. Everything is all about how you manage yourself. And because of social media, we're not confined to the old rules. We have newer rules and things are changing.
Mhm. That is
I
true.
agree. I agree.
Although,
Accessibility.
yes, yes, accessibility, I think, has been like, you know, it's been more accessible than the past, few decades, but still, like people who have like really nothing, still won't have the time, even though they have TikTok or whatever social media. Some of them are probably, working to survive basically. So those type of people are not going to have the time to even, think about making art because right now they're just thinking of surviving because of the systems put in place, basically.
Maslow's hierarchy
Yeah.
of needs, everyone.
Yeah. So the other statement is the preference of lighter skinned individuals when casting actors in the industry is very, is very damaging.
So,
So the key argument here is about the lack of diversity, basically, in the industry, and the ever like colorism in casting actors.
And just to reiterate, I cannot curse on here. I cannot.
I think so.
express yourself. Just let's.
Can I? Nick said I can express myself.
Yeah. Hey, if we need to cut it out, we'll
Yes,
beep it
we
out
can
or
we can
something.
beep it out if we need to. So you can just fully express
Putang
yourself.
ina. That's all I have to say. Putang ina. When it comes to like lighter skin versus dark skin, or in the Philippines, our diversity is fucking bullshit. Because our diversity focuses on the mixed race, on the half whites. And I was acting in the Philippines. And I remember it would be out in the public for it would be casting calls for GMA or ABS or casting calls for like big feature films, and they would always say you have to be class A, and then they would define class A, which there would be like you have to be half white, you have to be light skinned, you have to have Western features, big eyes, long nose. Everything is defined, including the measurements of the body.
Wow. This was when was this?
2014.
Damn.
This is 2014. Yeah, I was 22. So
Mm-hmm.
it was everywhere. They weren't hiding it. It was very prevalent in the public. And the whole thing about it is that the sad thing is that's what the public wants. The public wants lighter skinned people. And like going back to what I said earlier, society makes the people, people make society. It's the same thing here. The public wants lighter skinned people. So what does the business give? Lighter skinned people.
It's a supply and demand.
It's a supply and demand. And who's going to change first? For me, this is something that we need to actually fight to change. Like what I said earlier, if you're coming from the lower spectrum of society, you have to fight harder. I agree, you don't have time, you have to survive. But if you want what you want, you're going to get what you want. So, same thing here. Who wants it more? I cannot explain how much I want to see Filipinos, native Filipinos on the stage, how much I want to see them on TV, especially in
Preach.
local TV.
Mm-hmm.
So much rage about it, so much. And for me, it's like I want it so badly that if no one's gonna listen to me, I will find a way to show how beautiful native Filipinos look like, because the public needs to stop putting the Philippine public needs to stop looking down on the dark skinned people.
Strong statement. I really believe in that. One damaging thing I can see here, like for example, we're bringing up society again, right? Is that yes, there are people who aren't as privileged in positions of earning money in that industry, right? And then if we keep giving the money to these people who are already like earning how many 700,000 pesos, 500,000 pesos a year, and then it keeps going into their pockets, okay na sila, right? Like they can survive. They can buy an Audi, like they'll be okay. So if we keep like kunwari, like whitewashing like darker skinned characters, and then the money goes to them, it doesn't serve a different community. Like if we uplift other communities, like more native Filipinos, diba, more darker skin, morenas, whatever the term now is, the money then goes to their communities, right? Which I am for that. But on the aisle of producing and creating content, if the scope is to challenge, for example, Bollywood or Hollywood or Korean TV, what is the best chance to do that? I feel like it's the best chance of the people who have the most money. The most money to then, diba, shoot for the stars. But diba, it makes sense. Like, how are you going? Like, for example, like if Marvel was to compete with, or DC was to compete with Marvel, what would you need? You'd need a lot of money. And so, how is the Philippines going to fight with the Southeast? Compete with Southeast Asian filmmakers? Money, and how does that happen? Giving money into new perspectives, giving money into what the people with more money. It's open for debate, right?
I mean, but you have to like, what is your stand on you know, on the colorism in the industry though, regarding that?
I think more diversity is needed. Like you need to give money to different communities rather than the people living in Alabang, like in Makati, diba? Like because
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna keep making the same films that they're gonna keep making. Diba? Maybe they can hire a writer from another spot, but then that takes too much time. Just give diba, the big paycheck to someone of color, someone of a different culture, someone of a different diba? Like let's hear from stories of Mindanao. Like I'm down for that, but that's not gonna happen in today's society because the demand is not there. We like our white people. We like our mestizos.
That's why we look elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I keep saying, like, if you want something really badly,
Mm-hmm.
find ways around it. That's why with the films that I want to do, I know the Philippines isn't going to give me money. I know the
Mm-hmm.
fact because I want my lead to be as dark as the first Filipino I see when I land in the Philippines in 1400. That's how dark I want my character to be.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not going to happen in the Philippines, that's not going to make, let's say I was someone from Mindanao and then I wanted to make a story about how we survived the war in Mindanao, all the bombings that happened there weekly, monthly,
Mm-hmm.
all the raids. If I want to make a story and the Philippines won't listen
Will
to me,
not fund it.
guess what? We have the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I can email someone here, I can email someone there. From nothing, you can make everything. And that's what people always seem to forget. There's a lot of inequalities here, but it doesn't mean we can't, if we want to get somewhere, if we want to teach society, if we want to uplift society, we find ways around it. And if the Philippines won't listen, guess what? I'm going to make the whole world listen so that the Philippines will listen. And then what's going to happen? We're going to uplift the whole country and everyone else will follow. I'm so positive.
That's great.
So,
That's great.
yeah. All the steps I
All
gotta do for you.
I know. I make it sound easy. It's hard, but I'm good.
Uh-huh.
In
It
reality,
is pretty hard.
It is
We're just
pretty
not
hard.
talking about
very
the
hard.
Yeah, but no one's stopping me.
Yeah, nobody. Like even I think even like fighting for our culture here, right? Like fighting for representation in America is difficult, and like you hit the nail on the head right there, Valerie. Like with all this news on like these Filipino film festivals back home, I wait for those films to come to America, diba? And I just admire it. I'm so inspired by Filipino filmmakers, but I think us as a people, diba, there's a problem there. Like there's just a disconnect between the production houses and the consumers because there is a big dissatisfaction on the way that Filipino media is being produced or being distributed to the people.
So with the film I'm doing, The Governor, which I'm not going to go fully on about it, but it's about a small town in the Philippines, in Laguna, Santa Cruz, Laguna. And it's about the Filipino. I wanted, like I said, I'm staying on my stance. It has to be Filipino. We have to show everything that happened. We have to show what's real. And I'm not going to be biased towards anything, even my family. And one of the people who've helped me is a guy named Ronel. Ronel is completely Filipino. He doesn't look mixed. He's dark skinned. He's tiny. He's Filipino. And you know what? He was so excited to have a film about himself, about to where he could see his country, where he could see his hometown. He was so excited for it, and for him to be telling the whole town of Santa Cruz. He was like, everyone in the barangay, everyone in the neighborhood is already talking about it. Everyone in the city is so excited to see this film about us. And it's who's the one making it happen? It's us. It's this small group of Filipinos here in LA who's trying to get the network, who's trying to get the connections. And
Fighting against Hollywood, fighting against all these white producers wanting us to change names, change
right?
characters.
Change language.
Yeah. Oh my
Exactly.
god.
Oh my God, we're not. Ooh, that's so beats me up. But you know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I don't want to. I don't want to look at it as a fight. I want to look at it as finding the right people who will stick by us and who will
Hmm.
respect us. Because I'm not gonna let anyone change the language of the film or make my
Exactly, dude.
character white.
Yep.
Screw
Hell
that.
no. Hell no.
Right? But what I'm saying is that if we find the right way and we find the right alley, just from that little guy, I mean, from Ronel, from that little town, who
Yeah.
told the whole town, and now the whole town is excited.
It's
This
amazing.
it's so uplifting because they feel as if someone over here is uplifting them, and when that word spread, then the whole province will feel uplifted to be like, who we didn't think people would look at us this way, or that someone
Yes.
would make a story about us. That's what I'm saying. We society people, they feed each other, supply and demand. But if there's that one person, that one little ray of hope that's gonna be like, I'm gonna make sure that you're all being fed the right information, then
Hmm.
everyone will be uplifted. It just takes a matter of, are we gonna let ourselves be taken down, or are we gonna rise and bring everyone else up?
I got nothing to add to that.
All
I
right, all
agree.
right. So, which leads us to, I guess this is now the next topic is, the prioritization of commercial and blockbuster films by, executive producers and mainstream production companies in the Philippines has dampened the artistry of Filipino filmmakers. So, our key arguments here are commercialization, limiting the artistry of Filipino filmmakers.
Yes, I I agree with that statement because what films are being made, what TV series are being made again and again, right? And I want to bring this back to high school, and I want to have the women's perspective here. Actually, we all grew up in the Philippines, and I felt like growing up in high school and grade school as a guy, diba? As a boy, figuring stuff out, figuring romance out. Like we were still into romance before haranas and you know taking girls out and stuff, but I felt there's a lot of influence in like the media we were consuming and like how we viewed relationships that I feel can be damaging. If you're being fed the same media, the same, like, how many times do we gotta see someone cheat, like right, cheat, sleep around, be unfaithful, and suddenly, oh, it's gonna be okay because the hero the hero wins at the end of the day. So if panay ganyan yung, if it's always like that and there are no other stories to breathe, I don't think we really evolve because art has such a strong impact on human beings, whether it be music, whether it be paintings, whether it be movies. Diba? And if we're just going after the masa, diba? Like what sells, how are we gonna evolve our art form? Because if you then stray away from that, like even here in Hollywood, right? Like
Mhm.
you stray away from what people want, people are gonna lose their shit. They're gonna be like, "Wow, why are you changing shit?" So I feel that giving power, by power I mean money, the ability to produce more stories will actually in will actually benefit the film industry so much.
Mhm.
Not by we're diba, wanting to keep doing the same thing again and again. That's what I think.
One thing that people always forget is that art is art. Art is beautiful. When you make art into a business, then it becomes a business. It's not art anymore.
Mm,
So that's the same for paintings, like the fine arts, which I'm also a part of that world. The fine arts, literary work, film. Once you make something into a business, then it becomes a business. And sad to say, we lose the artistry of it. Do we need to lose the artistry of it? We don't need to. but there's always going to be a formula. Like, for example, the Metro Manila Film Fest, I cannot remember what year, but I was in the Philippines during this time. So that was between 2012 to 20. When did I come back? 2018. Between 2012 to 2018, they decided to make the Metro Manila Film Fest a more artistic one. So they got award-winning films that won film festivals, films with artistry, films with depth. And you know what? I went to the cinema and there was only me and another person in the cinema. No one bought tickets because it did not relate to the masses. No matter what the artistry, it cannot relate. So who's losing business? The theaters are losing business. The production companies, everyone lost money during that film festival for the sake of art. Am I saying it's right? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying there's a reason why commercialism exists is because we're trying to feed everyone who's on set. We're trying to feed everyone who we think are the victims of society. So is this a sad reality? It is a sad reality. So what do? We make something artistic with depth that would appeal commercially. We don't need to follow there is a formula. There's always going to be a formula.
Yeah.
But if we do something good enough that we defy the formula, then we have a success where we have something that gets them commercially and at the same time gets them artistically. Like, to name a few films, General Luna was a success in the Philippines. Took a while. The first few weeks, it was empty. I remember the first week, there was no one watching it. But because of word of mouth, people started watching it. And then what happened? It entered the Oscars for best foreign film. It was nominated for best foreign film. What other films have also been a commercial success by being so artistic with depth? Parasite. Parasite did
Yes.
not show anything lovey-dovey, but it was such a worldwide success because it related to the human heart. And that's
Yep.
what people have forgotten. People are like, we're going to be artistic, we're going to be this. People who like, science, what you call those?
Sci-fi.
Hindi sci-fi eh. Yung out of this world experimental films.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Experimental films will not connect to the masses, period. It just won't.
There's a niche to it, you know.
There's a niche to it. So, because like the public isn't that artistic enough to connect to it. They don't have the understanding towards. So you need to, like, this is a very specific niche. Like, if I start talking to you about very specific kinks, you might not like it. So you won't be able to connect to what I'm into. So the person who's watching an experimental film will not be able to connect to the depth of the director's psychology. So how do we go against it? We don't have to lose to commercialism to make a good film. We just need to connect to the heart of it, to the heart of people. Again, Parasite is the best example.
It is a
I
great
love that
example.
film. The moment I saw that, I was like, "This is gonna win. This has to win." Like, I was
It's
super
one of my
biased, but-
favorites.
yeah. And
Amazing.
to touch base with the experimental film, actually, Nicole, you're gonna know this film. Leonor will never die, or
Die.
Leonor never dies.
Leonor will never die.
Leonor will never die by the wonderful
Martica.
director Martica Ramirez
Escobar.
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 Yeah. I'd say it's a very niche film. I loved it. Nicole watched it a year before me, right? And then you were just saying like, "Oh, you gotta watch it," and it finally came out here. And I think there was actually film screenings. I watched it in Liamel Theater. I'm butchering that name. I think it's French, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it defies, it defies the normal structure of an action film, basically.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
it pays
really
homage, but in like it really pays
does
homage
still
to the ones that
pay
came before.
homage.
And I loved it. But why
Yeah.
do you think
Yeah.
films like that aren't popular?
Because the world isn't ready.
Ooh.
Like, for
Or
example, let's put Gothic horror on the table.
Gothic
So,
horror.
Gothic horror like Frankenstein,
Dracula and stuff like that. Yeah.
Dracula, Wuthering Heights. When I forgot the author of Frankenstein, but when I believe it was a girl. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, But when she came out with Frankenstein, no one has ever done it before. To the point where people were, they were at ease, at on the edge to accept. Oh my God, they're cutting people off and then making it into one person. Like that is just horrifying to the people back then.
Yeah.
But it grew. Now we have Dracula, then we had Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights, for me, until now, I don't understand why that became a success. Talking about niches, I did not like Wuthering Heights. I studied that in school. I watched the film 20 times. Still did not like it, but it was such a success. Because again, Gothic culture back then was not a thing. And now it is a thing. We have Wednesday, which has become a commercial success.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We need to let society evolve. And that's the sad part. Sometimes society isn't ready for it. Filipinos don't really feel comfortable being around me because they consider me too American. Is it my fault? No. It's that's how I developed and that's how they developed. And so, those are the things. Back then, if we have pop art, let's go to fine arts because it's a visual thing. Film is a visual thing.
Hmm.
Let's go to the 1600s or the 1500s. If I showed something that belonged to Picasso, people would vomit on that. They would call it shit,
What is that?
right?
Hmm.
Go bring impressionism or expressionism in the world of the Renaissance, they would not
Yeah.
accept. Now it's a
Starry Night, right?
Yeah.
Starry Night. That's more. I think that's
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Yeah, he
He was not
died. He died unsuccessful, right? Like he became popular after his death. So
Hmm.
because after his death, that's when the movement of modernism came about.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. Van Gogh was not accepted back then. That's why experimental films are not being accepted right now because we're not
it's
that
pushing the boundaries, and it takes a
pushing the
while for the yeah.
boundaries. Yeah, and people are uncomfortable. They don't understand it. I'm not saying that's how it should be forever. I'm just saying let's wait for the movement to come up, which it can happen anytime. Who's gonna
Hmm.
pay for that movement? Someone
The
someone
people.
started the people, society.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because all those movements, the Dada movement with art, because I have a fine
Hmm.
art background, so I can really talk about this for hours. But all the movements in art, the Dada movement, Impressionism, Expressionism, Modernism, Cubism, they were all started by one person who wanted it.
And I think the takeaway here is, guys, let's support the art we want to see, right? If you want to see more done by creators, guess what? Support them.
Exactly.
It makes sense. The math adds up.
And now, I think we should go to advice for action, basically. So we have three questions here that we want to, get advice from at least the three of us because we're all in the industry. The first one is, what do you envision for the future of the Filipino film industry in the next 5 to 10 years? And how do you think the issues of nepotism, lack of diversity, and commercialization will impact its growth and development? Well, I have a big envisionment for the Filipino film industry because I really believe in it, and I have a lot of hope for our artists back home. I just hope, our government helps them in the funding of their films, and all other, investors and, executive producers that are able to, to fund these artists. So I have a big hope, and I hope we'll be making films that are, competing in a lot more international festivals, and, is being renowned by an international audience as well. Big hopes for the Filipino film industry.
I like that. That made me smile. Some good stuff. What I hope, it's more of a dream. And what Val said, it takes people, the people from different wealth classes. And depending on how people handle that, it will dictate the speed of that, of that dream come into life. But Filipino filmmakers are so talented, very inspirational. Like I've taken so much respect, so much guidance from those who came before, and they have paved the way for us to be where we are as artists, no matter what field you're in. We can date back our artistry for, you know, hundreds of years, like before colonization and stuff. So right now we're at a point where there are a lot of cell phones. You know, I'm seeing a lot of TikToks, a lot of people doing funny stuff on Instagram, and it's only just a little bit until people actualize that and make it into film. I think even like making a film on a phone and finding a way to monetize that to then make a bigger project and then a bigger project and a bigger project, because we all, you know, well, not all of us, but a lot of us, you know, start from nothing, like $0 budget films. A lot of IOUs, a lot of like, hey, I'll just pay you lunch and you'll make the films. And I believe in the Filipino artistry that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're gonna see a lot more diversity. You know, the nepotism, I hope, kind of helps out. Like, you know, like they see an artist, they see a production company that needs funding. I hope, you know, like I've seen good stuff that people start helping each other out. Like just because you've made it doesn't mean like, you know, other people can't make it. There's room for everyone on the table. You know, we all can eat on this table, and just being that, you know, just from people having their own means of making productions, we'll see more diversity. You know, we'll see more perspectives. For example, the LGBT community, the Islamic community, the Chinese community. There's so much culture in the Philippines that we could just go off right now and talk about, like, you know, short film ideas in each different sector of life or area of the country that these films can exist. So that is my hope for the next 5 to 10 years, that we will be seeing more and more, you know, cultural films and different diversities. Yeah.
My advice, because in the next 5 to 10 years, I think that's a very short time. It's a long time for us as individuals. It's a very short time for society. But my advice for people who are going into this business, you have to know where you stand. Are you doing this for the money? Are you doing this for your ego? Or are you doing this for the better of society? Because I know where I stand. And, you know, my heart will always be in performing before anything else. That's the one thing that I would want to do my whole life. You can take away any of my other careers, do not take away my voice. And so that's why you have to know where you stand. Because, like, with me working on my film right now, The Governor, I'm doing performing for me. That's what makes me happy. If you want me to create the story, I'm doing it because I want a better society. Where is my bigger why? I want to make the story because it's my family. It was my home. Where do you stand in this fight, in this battle? Because if you enter the art world, you're going to question yourself.
Everything.
Everything, especially yourself. You're going to give in to commercialism. You're going to give in to money. You're going to give in to selling your whole life, your body, your soul to someone because of how difficult this industry is. And it really is difficult. So I'm not judging. I know people who've slept with people. I've known producers who've offered themselves to me. So, you know, it goes both ways. It really does go both ways. And the question is, how much do you want this? Where do you stand? What are you gonna do to get to where you are? Are you gonna sacrifice your morals? I'm not judging you. Are you gonna respect yourself and get to it and make sure that you're the queen, that king that you are, and that you're gonna make a kingdom out of nothing? I'll respect you even more. So go into this business, and I'm gonna say be the change that you want. But that's so typical. We've
That
heard
is so
it so
typical.
many times. Here's what I have to say. You want to enter this business, know what you want, because you know what I want? I want to make I want to make my kingdom.
Go get it, girl.
I'm with that.
So make your own kingdom. You know, it's
Yep.
your art,
Yep.
your business.
Totally. All great things, guys. The next one is, in what ways do you think the Filipino film industry can balance the commercial demands of producing profitable films with the artistic and creative needs of filmmakers and audiences?
Make a good story. Make a
That's
good
true.
story that balances all of the aspects.
Hmm. I would say like know your audiences too. Definitely knowing your audience will help you make, a good story because you're catering it to them if you want it to be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So make a good story for the audience that you want.
I think we need more truthful stories. I think somewhere down the road we became scared of what type of media we can create in the Philippines.
That's
There was a
very
time where this
subjective.
it's very subjective, yeah, but like when we're talking about class or something like that, like they're pushing the boundaries and parang the public knowledge of what's going on. I feel like those ones got limited, but they're actually coming up now.
Yeah, there
on
have
the up
been
and coming.
more and more
There have been more
films, great
and
indie
more
films.
support, right? Yeah, more and
Exactly.
more support. So the more truthful stories come out, and the more because people can see truth, even if it's uncomfortable, you can see it, and then that uncomfortability creates the change. Because in a way, like if you create a film that people hold on to for a week and they still talk about it for a week, you're changing someone's life. You're changing someone's world, diba? The perception of life. Like, oh, I'm gonna start questioning this, but then since it's in my head and I'm seeing people around me who are, diba?
Hmm.
It's kind of like the film manifested this reality that you're now paying attention to, and that and then when that happens, it will snowball. I think like slowly, like it's starting now, but the more we
Hmm.
do it, the more people will
Exactly.
see like, oh, you know, maybe it isn't brainwashing. Maybe people aren't being brainwashed to think a certain way, but it's a perspective that's never seen, and then that's just it. I think, and more people
Right.
will support that because it's we need support now. I think the Filipino film industry needs support.
Yeah, it definitely does. Because I think there is already a demand, at least like, from people that I've talked to in the homeland, there is already a demand for these type of films. It's just, on the filmmaking side is like they're getting a lot of like, obstacles in producing these
Wala
type of
tayong
films.
budget.
So, nandun na nga tayo.
Wala tayong budget pa dyan. And that's the problem. That's the problem with a lot of filmmakers. Like, and we'll get there. I believe in the
Yeah.
Filipinos.
All right. Our next one is how can aspiring filmmakers and artists break into the Filipino film industry when it is dominated by a few powerful families? And what advice do you have for those who want to make a name for themselves in the industry? I think Valerie, do you want to say something about?
That's really something that I hate. It's when people think that they can't get through the door. You can.
Mm-hmm.
There are gatekeepers. So what? If they like you, here's one thing about people at the top. If you're like them, they will open the doors for you regardless of your class, regardless of what you can bring. You have to click with them. And here's why people at the bottom don't click with the people at the top: mentality, competition. That question alone, how am I going to get in if it's all controlled by you guys?
Mm-hmm.
What are the you guys thinking? Oh, okay. We could have been friends. Fuck you. Stay out of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Competition should get out. Here's one thing that people don't realize again. Not everyone's going to be Spielberg. Not everyone is going to be Scorsese. You can be a working director. You can be a working actor. But guess what? Hundreds of years have passed. We've had a million writers. How many writers have lived throughout centuries? 5, 10, maybe 20, maybe 300. But guess what? A million of those did not live for 10 years. Their name did not live past 5 years. It's a difficult world. It's a difficult life to choose.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
People need to be ready to
Mm-hmm.
go into this fight, into this battle. If you don't have that mentality, you're out. Because when I came here to America, I had nothing. And guess what? Guess who helped me? The people at the top. I was not judged by what I had. I was not judged by what I could bring. It was
Mm-hmm.
more like I came here and I'm not looking at you as my competition. I came here knowing what I want. I came here knowing what I want to do. And I came here saying that this is what I want and I will respect you and I want you to respect me. If you stand at the same footing as a king will respect you as a king. If you stand in front of a king thinking that you're a pauper, thinking that you're a soldier, thinking that you're a general, guess what? The king will step on you.
Yep.
Mm.
That's how you get through the doors, baby. You think like them, you act like them.
Fake it till you make it.
Till you make it. There's one story of this my sister's friend. He has his own $1 million company right now, but he started from nothing. You know what he
Wow.
did? He earned a lot of money because he's in the medical field. He sells all these medical equipments, which are money. So what he did when he got his first paycheck, he borrowed money. I think he borrowed money or when he got like some when he managed to save up. He joined a country club.
Tree
And then
club.
he came there looking like one of them.
Wow.
Having golf with all these millionaires, having lunch with all these millionaires, and he was like, and he was honest with them. He's like, yeah, this is what I want. I want to start my business. This is my plan. And he was just having lunch with his friends.
So parang dress for the job you want, not for the
Just
job you're in. Yeah.
Yep.
exactly. And he didn't look at them as investors. He looked at them as his friends. Because
All right,
Mm.
guys.
exactly.
Notes,
So
notes na dyan, guys.
yeah, don't look at them as competition.
Take notes.
Yeah. Those are the people who invested. Now he has his $1 million company, and his friends, his investors, are now earning from his company.
Wow. Amazing.
Think about it. It's not a competition. It's not you versus them or them versus you. It's not rich versus the poor. It's not the whites versus the blacks, even if racism does exist. But you get what I'm saying. The moment you stop looking at the boundaries, then the gates will open. You want to be the leader of your team? Then roar like a fucking lion.
Meow.
Not like that.
No, that's great. That's great. That's great.
Well said.
Well said, Val. Well said.
What
Definitely
about you, Nick?
gonna think about some stuff you thought. But for me, like, I think how can aspiring filmmakers and artists break into the Filipino film industry when it is dominated by few powerful families? And given that we understand how the Philippines is, there will be snobs, diba? There will be snobby people who are kind of cliquish. And if they shoot you down, diba? If you're approaching them and saying like, "Hey, I want funding, like tulungan niyo ako," and they shoot you down, don't get disheartened by it. Find your people. You might have really great friends now, but what if they're not into art? What if they
Make
like
them go
golf?
into art.
Or find your tribe. Find your tribe, diba? Not force someone kasi parang hindi naman siya magiging natural if you force someone into something they don't really want. Like find your group of people, build a community, and then rise up together. Kasi parang this society that we live in is very the Philippines is very different than America. In America it's very aye. In the Philippines may kami pa tayo, like us. There's an us mentality. And just hone into that, diba? Start creating projects you want. Like you're not gonna be Michael Bay on your first film. Well, we've been doing this for 5 years, and diba? We're just getting there. So make your first project, fail, diba? Like by fail I mean learn.
Mm-hmm.
You put out the production, you learn, be humble about it, and then keep going, keep going. And then the more people resonate with it, like if on your first soft launch of your film, you get 5 people who really love what you do, you will feel so good about it. And diba, when the year comes, when the day comes that you are sleeping on your deathbed, it's your last days, you're gonna look back at that moment and nobody can take that away from you. Not even if you like stray away from art, but you did something so beautiful that connected with people, nobody can take that away from you.
Oh,
And
well
do it
said.
for that, diba? do it for that. Like, okay, you're not gonna be able to have the same CGI as Transformers. Make a film. Make a film about diba, where you are. Make a film about something you see every day. I don't know. But when you do that, then the demand will come. You just gotta supply it.
Very great advice from you too. What I got to say is that, a lot of people are going to say no to you, especially when you're starting out in the industry. And, you shouldn't let that get you down. And one no, like you're already failed. That just means that you don't want it enough
Ooh.
to fight for it,
Say
because
that again. Say that again.
if you really want to work in the industry, one no is not gonna like let you stop that. Like you have to like know what you want, like what Valerie said, because this industry is gonna be ruthless. Um, so you have to know what you want and what you signed up for, because it's gonna be a tough battle. And yeah, just keep making films, honestly. Like, even though it's like so low budget, upload it. There's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, you know upload it anywhere. And I guarantee you, even just one or two people watching your film and saying that they enjoyed it, it's like one of the best feelings in the world. So, and once like it gets passed down to like different people, it gets shared to like more and more people, that's how you're gonna break into the industry. So just keep making films and don't let people in authority who says no to you like stop you from doing or telling the story that you need to tell. So just keep making films, guys.
Share your stories. We're here for each other. Film parties one day. I don't know. Invite your friends. Like learn from each other. And yeah, that was great. That was great, guys. I'm inspired, and I will write tonight because of all y'all beautiful people.
Naks naman.
Valerie, closing statement. If there's anything you want to share to our viewers or anyone listening out there, you have the floor.
I think I already shared enough. So,
You should. Okay. Okay.
yeah, I love you. Yun lang. Love the people you're around. One thing for people to succeed, if you love what you're doing, you're not gonna give up on it. If you love your kid, you're not gonna give up on your kid, no matter how much of a fucking rebel they are, of a fucking headache they are. This is your baby.
Yes.
Oh, one
Yes.
thing that Warren Buffett said: find something that you love, even at the worst times.
Oh,
If you don't like the rejection and you're getting disheartened by the rejection, guess what? This isn't for you. But if you love the rejection because the rejection will bring you to another road,
oh.
keep loving it.
Same.
I love every hard part of acting. I love the rejection. I love going to 30 auditions. I love not having sleep. I love waking up at 3 in the morning, even if it means having my Filipino friends call me just to make sure I wake up. I love being told to repeat the scene 50 times. I love the networking, the political games that come into acting. I love the bad parts of acting. That's why I know I love it. If you really love what you're doing, if this is really what you want, you would love every single horrible part of it. Because if you don't,
Yes.
then this isn't for you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, viewers, for listening to this episode of The Howl. Catch us next week for another thought provoking episode. See you guys later.